was something to help doing custom transitions in layouts, animated transitions without having to code all the animations. So let's, for example, say if I want to add an item on there, you just add the item, and if you enable the layout transition with that tag on the XML, you get for free this cool animation. But it was not very extensible. It was hard to extend it and to add custom transitions and animations. So sometime after that, Google came up with another stuff that is much better. Let's call it TransitionManager. It was added on KitKat, KitKat 19. One second. Let me mute this. Okay. So it was added in KitKat, and there's another stuff that came into Lollipop. So what is TransitionManager? It's a new API from Android that you can use to do cool things like this. For example, I have a register screen, and usually when I click the register button, you open a new activity and do all this stuff. But what if I do a morphing button, right? So I can do all these cool transitions, this animated cool stuff, basically for free. This is the layout of that screen. So I have my, sorry. This is my layout, usual layout, linear layout is the whole screen, then a linear layout for the register form, and a linear layout for the login form. So all I have to do is tell the system to begin a delayed transition on my container, a view group, and then I set the visibility of my fields to visible. And then the framework will just do all the animations for me. So what it does, it saves the state of the screen before you change something on the layout, and after you have changed something, and animates between these two states. So I set the visibility to visible, it will animate, expand the form, and fade in the fields. So it's pretty cool and doesn't require any code, just that. But we can also extend the TransitionManager. We can have some custom transitions, custom animations. So for example, here I added a custom animation that pops out each view. So it's just another effect. And to do that, we need to do a custom transition. What is a custom transition? It's a class. Transition is a class from the framework that has these three functions. Capture start values. This is where we will capture the state of the views on the start state of the transition. Then capture end values. This is the last stage of the transition where the views are visible, so we capture that state. And then we have our create animator to create the animator that will animate all views. But there's also visibility, which is also a custom transition. It's an abstract custom transition that tracks visibility of views. So in this case, I have onAppear and onDisappear. So when a view appears, when I set the visibility to visible, it will get the onAppear, and I just create an animator for that. That it's basically like this. I set the scale of my view to 0, and then I scale up to its final size, to its original size. That's pretty much it. onAppear and onDisappear is the same, but shrinking the view. And here is the cool part of the TransitionManager. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to make it more useful. We have our transition set is a set of animations. I have a set of transitions, a lot of transitions, and then I have a propagation. What is a propagation? This is how the system will animate all the views. So I have a circular propagation and an epicenter callback, which I will get the epicenter of my animation. And then it will expand, animating one view after another from that epicenter. On this case, on a circular propagation. So you get that cool effect that one view after another will be animated. And that's it. You again call begin delay transition, passing the transition set that we created, and the system will do all the animations. So it's a lot fun. And then there is the concept of scenes. What is a scene? Well, let's say that you have an application and you have these two scenes. You are posting an image, so you have your image. You're maybe doing some editing, cropping, or I don't know, the check mark to post. And then you have a form that you can add to a collection, post a description, share to Facebook or Twitter, add tags, that kind of stuff. Right? So we can use these scenes. We have two scenes. This is two layouts. I have two scenes that I would like to transition. So I have scene 1 and then the scene 2 with a cool transition from one to another. Or I can have other stuff, animating from sliding from the bottom. You can do a lot of stuff with these scenes. So how this is created? This is my activity. I have a frame layout, and I'm including the first scene, which is an image view with the check mark. So user clicks on the check to say it's okay, and the image view itself. So it has width, height, all that stuff. And then I have my second scene. It's a little more complex, but I still have the same image view, the same ID, right? So the system knows that he should animate the changes on that view. And I have another views. Text to add to collections, the text for the description, my sharing container with the Facebook and Twitter buttons, and my text container. So I have these two scenes, and I have a transition manager. This is in resources res bar / transitions. So I have this transition manager telling the system that when I go into scene 2, I should run that transition to the tails. And when I go into scene 1, transition to that scene, I should run transition from the tails. And this is to the tails. I have a transition set. I have the change image, transform, change bounce. That will do the transition for the image view. It will shrink the image view and move it to the final position on this second scene. And then I have the fade out for the check mark and the fade in for all the other views. And this is from the tails, and I do the opposite. So it's basically the same, but on another order. And then this is how we do in code. We have a transition inflator, like layout inflator and other kind of stuff, so we can inflate our transition, our scene transition. I inflate both scenes, scene 1 and scene 2. And when I want to transition from one to another, I just call transition manager transition to scene 1, scene 2, and it will do all the animations for us. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. But it's only for KitKat. But there are some backports. There are 2 libraries, backport libraries. I can tweet the link for them later that can do this for earlier versions. And this is how you can do just on code. If you don't want to use XML, you can do all that stuff on code. So I am manually animating the check mark alpha, and then I have my bounce transition, which will change the image, and then the other stuff. So slide from the bottom and then TransitionManager.go scene 2 and my transition, what transitions I should run. Okay, and then the activity transitions. I think that everyone knows the new activity transitions that were added in Lollipop. So it runs on top of the transition manager, so you can use all the same kind of XMLs for transitions and stuff. So we have the shared element. This is the basic transition. So you set a shared element between two screens, two activities, and it will animate from one activity to another using the same classes from the transition manager. So all you have to do is set that flag on your style, Android. Window activity transitions to true, or inherit from a material design team that's already set. And you have your window shared element enter transition. This is what transition you should run for the shared elements. This is default. You doesn't need to add it, but I just put it there. So I have a transition move. That's a set of transitions. It's change, bounce, changing, transform. There are 4 transitions in this set to do this smooth change from one activity to another. And how we started, you have to set a transition name to the shared views, because it can have more than one view, shared view between 2 screens. Then you create an intent, normal intent, as always, and your activity options. Then you create make scene transition animation. You set your hero is the shared element in this case, and shared hero is the name. And then I start the transition. But what is awesome with the new activity transition is that you can orchestrate a lot of other animations with the shared element. Because you have the shared element, it's shared between 2 screens, but you have all other views that are on the first activity and the second activity. And here you can set a lot of animations for a lot of states for this other view. So you have set enter animation is to animate the views from the second activity when they are entering the screen after the shared element is moved. You have the exit animation from the calling activity, so you can animate all the views. The return is from the called activity when it's returning to the previous activity, and the re-enter is when the previous activity is re-entered. The views are re-entering the scene. And you have the same for the shared element. You usually just use the enter, because the return will be the opposite. The system will just do it backwards, so you usually don't need to set that. And I made a lot of examples here to show some transitions that you can do. You can all see on the code later. It will be available. So this is the default one, just a shared element, and it will fade in all of the other views and fade out when you are going back. And then you can have a lot of moving stuff. This is using the exit transition from the calling activity. So you move all the views down, and the second image from the movie moves from the left and goes to the right. This one is the explode animation, it explode all the views. So you can do a lot of stuff with that. And you don't need a lot of code for that. This one is pretty cool. You can use a path animation. So all these cool transitions are available on the code, so you can take a look. But it's all using that. This one, for example, I use the normal change animation, and then when I come back, the re-enter views are zooming in. So this is set re-enter activity transition, and you can orchestrate a lot of stuff with all this animations. So you have exit, enter, return, and re-enter. Go ahead. Everything's awesome, right? So now you can do all this awesome stuff for free. Before that, you have to write a lot of boilerplate code. You have to start the second activity with a transparent background. Then you have to place the view where it was before on the previous activity. Then you have to run all the animations manually. So Google made this really easy for us. Okay, it's only for Lollipop, but it's... Whoa, I think I was pretty fast. So, anyone has questions?
Is the yellow one in the examples, is it default or a custom animation? The one that we have
the review. With the review animation? Yeah, this is a custom animation. There is a lot of code on that, but it is really cool. It takes a screenshot of a bitmap of the view, and then it does a review. And there's a lot of code on that, but it's available there to see. So, for the activity transitions, there is none. So, you can use the activity options compat. So you can still create the same make scene transition, but it won't run on previous versions. It will just do the default transition. Or you can maybe use some custom transition, old transition style for old versions. But for the transition manager itself, when you're doing transitions inside your activity, there are two libraries backporting it. So I will tweet later the link for both. It's transitions everywhere. I think the other is transition manager backport or something like that. So you can use it. But pretty much it. On the latest version, you do all the cool stuff, and the previous version, you do what you can.
And what about fragments?
There are some support for fragments as well. We didn't upload it here, but you can use the same kind of transitions for fragments too. When you are swiping, changing between two fragments, you can have shared elements between them. It's the same concept. It's just another calls that you make to the system. Anyone else? No? Thank you, grazie.